Okay, Movember, day 15. And for tonight's video, I'm going to do the 3 circles, a boundary setting exercise. If you've got yourself an addiction and you're trying to work out, look, how do I even make first steps towards isolating the behavior, and how do I sort of understand the cycle of this behavior? I've done a video on the cycle of addictions that'll help you fill this in. So let me go through a version of this. Now, this is from Sex Addicts Anonymous, and this particular tool is from the Scotland Fellowship. So you can find this on their website and in that on that address just there. So the 3 circles, and sorry about the smallness of this, but we'll get through it. The 3 circles is a simple tool we can use to define our sobriety for ourselves, to define what a healthy sexuality for ourselves can mean. So it's looking at it from both angles, like what do I need to refrain from and what do I need to invest in, and that's the inner and outer circle. The middle circle will explain exactly what that does. Now let me just click on in over here. So I'll expand this one to read it because it's a bit small too. So we think through all our behaviors and organize them according to whether they are addictive in the inner circle, healthy in the outer circle, or somewhere in between, middle circle. It's not always easy to tell if something should be in the inner circle or not. Typically the inner circle behaviors are those that, let me move the slide on, you can't stop when you want to, that you keep secret from others, that would have negative consequences in your life if revealed, that you use to numb yourself from difficult feelings, and they lack any real intimacy or respect. I know for me, when it comes to sex addiction, it's about intensity, not intimacy, and that's for sure. So let's go through what they're saying. I'll just keep clicking my way through these slides. So the inner circle, that's where you're going to see the compulsive sexual behaviors from which we choose to abstain completely. Now, Patrick Carnes, and I'll probably do a video on this now, I've mentioned it, sort of isolates 10 types of sex addiction, or 20 categories, 10 types, 20 categories. I always get them mixed up a lot. So this inner circle is going to reflect your compulsive sexual behavior. So some people are voyeurs, some people have paraphilias that are behaviors that are obscure and not necessarily mainstream. Some people can do those as a hobby and really enjoy them, and others find them really difficult. So they will meet the 5 criteria of addiction: impulsive use, impaired control, continued use in spite of consequence. The feature of craving, the phenomenon of craving, and aspects of denial. We will minimize use and consequence. So if it meets those in any of these categories, as it said, that that we keep hidden, we don't want to reveal, and they cause us consequences, that would go in this list. So for some people, examples are like, and I think the next slide will give me those some, anonymous sex with others, so anonymous hookups on apps and Tinder or Grindr, pornography, internet, magazines, DVDs, videos. You can tell how old this resource is. This day and age would largely be all digital and on our devices. Written erotica. I know that erotica through Amazon right now is a problem for some of my clients, that they've given up visual pornography, but they really have trouble giving up the erotic literature. Infidelity, including touching, kissing, and including intrigue and fantasy. A lot of Christian couples I work with, they mightn't have sex outside of marriage, but wow, the damage it causes for fantasy and intrigue. So these are examples of what might go on there, but the list will be very personal and based on the identified behaviors that you have worked through with your sponsor or therapist. The middle circle is the behaviors that are that slip us into that acting out. So behaviors which are much less destructive or weaker in intensity, they cause us much less of a problem, but tend to lead us back to the inner circle. You could also put behaviors about which you are unsure of in this category. And some people do that. I think I could masturbate, but I shouldn't look at porn. And then they try for a while masturbation and realize they always go back to pornography, and then it goes in their inner circle instead of middle circle. So some of these examples would be using the internet, and I would say unstructured time on the internet. I've never seen that good for anybody with a pornography problem. Social media can be a big one. Drinking alcohol. I've got guys that aren't alcoholics, but they're staying sober. Patrick Carnes recommend staying sober for the first year so you can have your faculties about you. Lots of guys that I know, when they're honest with themselves, just say they make dumb decisions when they start to drink. Masturbation by themselves. Now, some people have masturbation, but when they're with or in a sexual situation with their partner. So mutual masturbation or masturbation itself with the partner present. And now these might all sound strange if you don't have a problem, if you stumble onto this resource video following my Movember campaign. If this isn't a problem for you, it's just not a problem for you. It's like alcohol, some people can drink really responsibly. It doesn't even cross their mind it's a problem. For others of us, it's a critical problem. So for some of us, masturbation needs to be put on the shelf, and it is too disruptive. It leads back to obsessive and compulsive behavior and can really destruct a marriage. So middle circles are those, dangerous behaviors that lead us towards, put us around the edge of, not porn would fit in there. It's a topic where people go, okay, if anything you describe as not porn. I was looking on YouTube at wet t-shirt competitions, but it's not porn. And so if you're looking at it for a purpose of lust, then it might need to be put in your middle circle or in your bottom lines, depending on where you are at. So the next one is outer circle. So any process addiction, any addiction really, has got to have something of a restrain element and a retrain element. So the outer circle is the stuff that we need to add, and for a lot of us it's either been lost, or when we were doing outer circle and acting out behaviors, they lacked passion and intimacy because we weren't present. So these are the things that we do to enhance our lives and our recovery, that keep us engaged with others and with reality rather than isolated and in fantasy and intensity. So some of these things are sexual intimacy with our partner, and for many of us that might have to do a full disclosure and then work our way back to have sexual intimacy. When your sexuality has been based on intensity, then really sometimes you are really learning from scratch here. Patrick Carnes's Courtship Gone Awry is a good place to start in facing the shadow. Sheila I always say Gregore, but I think it's just Gregor, is a Christian writer that's got 31 Days to Great Sex, The Great Sex Rescue. Alexandra Katahakis has Erotic Intelligence. These are all books that help us make our way back to healthy sexuality. There's a great Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous document out of New York. Maybe I'll do a video on that too this Movember on sober dating, because sometimes we've got to learn really how to reinvent the wheel. We don't know. We've always done it addictively and intensely. Attending meetings, really following the recipe. Some of the 12-step fellowships for sex addiction are very specific. The 7 tools of SLAR is one of them. 3 meetings a week, doing service, sponsoring, being sponsored, doing the questions, making 4 phone calls a day, one including to your sponsor, prayer and meditation. These are all, that's the recipe that they ask people to follow. Spending time with our partner. It's amazing how we've avoided intimacy in our marriage. And so really I was going through tonight? A post-disclosure. A lot of couples have got to do the commitments. I did one video out of this book already, on the Thanos, on how to connect and recommit in intimacy. So sometimes we really need some extra help. And playing football is an interesting one for this, but there was in Sydney before COVID, and I'm not sure if they're back at it, but the Sex Addicts Anonymous guys used to pay the Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous guys in soccer after a meeting on a Saturday in a Sydney park, and a great idea. I remember in early recovery from drugs and alcohol, I joined an indoor cricket team that was made up of recovering addicts, and it was an awesome way to spend a Friday night, and it got me into socializing and doing things that were healthy for my body. Now, remember that your circles will change as you learn more about your behaviors. I've had guys put things in their inner circle, take things out of their inner circle. So it really is individual. It's a fluid document. But sometimes, just a reminder, when we get started, people go, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I know I shouldn't do it. It's bad, but I always go back to it. So our first step in a 12-step fellowship, our cycle of addiction and cycle of recovery, will help fill out this 3 circles document if you need a hand. So that's the 3 circles tool for recovery. That's the QR code. Please donate to Movember. I've been waxing and taking care of this one, but I know other guys are growing them. So if you see a guy growing a bad mow that's a friend of yours, please donate to their page. And please check into our website at Steve Stokes Counselling and Consulting. We've got Rob Weiss speaking this weekend on sex addiction, betrayal, trauma and recovery. I've got John Lee talking on his new book, Odd One Out, coming up. Free webinars, so please contact us and book your spot. If you're in Sydney, please come on down. We're going to have some food and fellowship and just sort of prove that recovery is not the end of the road, but the beginning of a much better life. With that, I say good night. See you tomorrow.